The single dad is frozen in place when the sharp knock echoes through his small apartment at midnight. At first, he assumes it's a mistake. No one ever comes this late, especially not someone from work. His heart pounds as he opens the door and finds his powerful boss standing there, expression unreadable, authority filling the narrow hallway. In that instant, the boundary between his professional life and his fragile personal world completely collapses. Behind him, the dimly lit room reveals a life his boss has never seen. Toys scattered on the floor, unpaid bills on the table, and a child sleeping in the next room who depends on him for everything. The boss's presence turns the space into a silent battlefield where every word feels dangerous. What was once a place of safety now feels exposed and vulnerable. The conversation quickly grows tense. Old grievances, unspoken frustrations, and buried resentment rise to the surface. The boss's tone carries the same dominance he shows at work. But here, inside the single dad's home, it feels intrusive and unsettling. The single dad struggles to remain calm, torn between fear of losing his job and the need to protect his dignity. As the seconds stretch on, the air thickens with discomfort. This is no longer just a surprise visit. It's a confrontation that threatens to redefine their relationship forever, forcing the single dad to decide whether silence is worth the cost of his self-respect. When the boss's voice drops and he says, "Say that again, while you look at me," the room seems to shrink. The words are not loud, but they carry weight, an unspoken challenge meant to reassert control. For years, this tone has silenced employees, ended arguments, and reminded everyone who holds the power. But here, in this small apartment, the demand feels different. It feels personal. The single dad feels a tight knot form in his chest. He knows exactly what the boss is doing, testing him, daring him to repeat words that were never meant to be heard. For a moment, fear takes over. Fear of losing his job, fear of retaliation, fear of what tomorrow might bring. His eyes drop instinctively as they have so many times before. But then he remembers the sacrifices he's made, the sleepless nights, and the child sleeping just a few steps away. Slowly he looks up. As he repeats the sentence, his voice shakes at first, then steadies. The truth he speaks is simple, but it cuts deep. It exposes the quiet humiliation he's endured, the pressure of carrying responsibility alone, and the resentment he's buried to survive. The boss, unprepared for honesty delivered without apology, feels the ground shift beneath him. In that moment, pride collides with vulnerability. The boss is forced to confront not just the words, but the man standing in front of him. No longer an employee, but a father demanding respect. The moment the single dad finishes speaking, a heavy silence settles between them. There is no anger in his voice now, no defiance for the sake of pride, only honesty. He hasn't raised his tone or made threats, yet something fundamental has changed. For the first time, the boss realizes that authority loses its edge when it collides with quiet courage. The single dad stands straighter, not because he feels powerful, but because he refuses to shrink anymore. Years of swallowing frustration, of choosing survival over self-respect, have led him to this moment. He knows the risks. One decision from the man standing in front of him could cost him his job and the fragile stability he's built for his child. Still, he chooses dignity. The boss, accustomed to obedience, struggles with the shift. He expected fear, maybe apologies, but not calm resolve. The power dynamic he relied on begins to unravel as he sees the cost of his own behavior reflected back at him. For the first time, he must reckon with the impact of his authority on someone else's life beyond the office walls. What follows is unexpected. Instead of punishment, there is reflection. Instead of threats, a pause. Both men leave the encounter changed, one having discovered his own strength, the other forced to confront the limits of control. In the end, the night proves a quiet truth. Authority may command obedience, but dignity earns respect, and that respect can reshape destinies in ways neither man anticipated.